There he is.
Hello.
Hello,
How
handsome.
are you, love?
I'm good. How are you, handsome?
Very well.
You look great.
Thank you. I got a buzz.
You did. It looks good. It looks really good. Is that like a summer thing for you, or?
No, I keep my hair really short always, but I haven't been to a barber. I finally took the clippers to it, so.
Nice. I've been like applying fragrance to help transport me. Like I'm wearing a fragrance that's called Tulum mixed with one that's called like Ojai.
Ooh,
Yeah,
yum.
because it's transporting me to, oh nice, to like a more freer time. What are you doing to transport yourself these
I'm
days?
doing, I don't wear fragrances anymore because of, we discussed I got sick a while back.
Yes.
I use clean oils mostly, and I have some clean fragrances in Manhattan, but not here. But I've been using this little oil by Noto.
Oh,
That
that's
is,
nice.
it's delicious.
What does it smell like?
Ah, smells expensive,
It
and it
does?
smells, it's woodsy. Yeah, it's woodsy, not patchouli, but it's more of a sandalwoody, but really clean and beautiful. It's not heady. It's not heavy at all.
I love it. You share so many great product recommendations. Uh, the podcast, we have a podcast that's live right now, episode 37 of Story and Rain Talks. We have
Yay!
a whole conversation with Matin, and I think we discussed over 30 products
I
on the
love
podcast.
products, you know me.
Yes, so it's amazing. Anytime you speak with Matin, you get these wonderful, wonderful product recommendations. So not only do we have him explaining and going into detail about those on the podcast, but we also set up Matin's Clean Beauty Shop on storyandream.com, so you can shop all his or many of his recommendations for skin, for lips, for cheek, for eye, all of it. So
Nah,
let's get to our first question.
sure.
Okay, so my friend Elizabeth said, Tamara mentioned to me that you experienced blood toxicity and you discuss it on the podcast. What symptoms did you have that made you realize you were sick? And I guess Matin, maybe tell a little bit more of that story besides the symptoms.
Sure. I live downtown, as you know, and I live in Battery Park, which is so close to Ground Zero. After Ground Zero, I got really, it happened very slowly. I got more and more pain on my back, my legs, stiffness. Slowly, it got into me not having any energy. I was working on adrenaline all day, and I would get home. And whether I worked 1 hour or 10 hours, I would come home and literally collapse. Like I didn't even have energy to take my dogs out. And it was alarming. And I kept going to the doctors, and the doctors kept saying, "Oh, there's nothing wrong with you. The last blood work that I did, the doctor told me that my blood work was gorgeous.
Mm.
Those were the exact words.
He said
And
gorgeous. The doctor said
gorgeous.
gorgeous. What does
Yes.
that mean?
Which means that, everything was clean because I never drank in my life. I didn't smoke. I didn't do drugs. I ate healthy. I was an athlete. I was a marathon runner. So in every way, my body was clean and nothing showed in the blood work. But yet here I was with extreme amounts of pain and no energy, and they couldn't figure
Unbelievable.
out what's wrong with me. I ended up going to help a friend of mine in Germany because he was getting stem cell injections for his paralysis. And I was at the clinic, and the doctor took a look at me and said, "Something is hiding in your body. Let me do your blood work." And at first I refused. I'm like, no, I'm not here for myself. I'm here for my friend. And she's like, "You're here. Let me do your blood work." And she did, and sent it to the lab, and it came back with mercury, heavy mercury, and aluminum poisoning. So I had to do chelation for 3 years after that. When I came back, I went to Dr. Clark's in New Rochelle to get proper homeopathic and more gentle chelation done.
Thankfully, you did that, right? I mean, you were with a friend, and
Oh
thankfully,
my God,
it
it was
saved your life,
life-saving. I mean, I
right?
don't think I would have survived by now if I didn't
Yes,
do that.
no. We're getting the question, how are you now? From one of the
Oh, I'm
people.
great now. I mean, I'm like 70% better.
Right, and that was how long ago?
Oh, that was, I would say 10 years ago it started.
Yeah.
10, 12 years ago, I started like really getting sick.
Yeah.
And then
Okay,
I
well,
got better, through.
yeah. Let's go on to the next question from Erica on a different note, who says, who would you say has had the greatest influence on your career?
My sisters. I grew up watching them putting on makeup in different decades, and I was younger than four of them. So I watched them get ready to go out, get ready to go to movies, whatever they're doing. They were all, they were glamour pussies, and they loved hair and makeup. And this is 60s, 70s, 80s. I watched them. I have six sisters, so I watched. Well, like literally, like every day, every decade, I would watch an entire decade of what was opening up from, when they were on looking at magazines or film or whatever, and they would mimic it. So at one point, I remember when the brows were gone. I remember my sister shaving her brows, one of them, and actually her daughter is watching right now. I just saw her pop in.
I saw her. Hi.
She did she shaved her brows, and she was engaged, so she would go to a lot of dates with her fiance, and I was the brow patrol with her. I would sit down, and she would make me tell her whether it was even or not, her brows.
We actually have a question.
So
we have a question from somebody about brows later on in the question. That's so funny. So imagine it's your family really that was like your biggest source of inspiration, that had a great influence on your career, your own family.
Absolutely. I had very few men in my life when I was growing up, and I grew up with these beautiful women, and my mom also loved beauty, and she would take me to the beauty salon with her whenever she went to get her hair done, and this was a twice a week ritual. So it was, it was during the days of Buffon, the 70s. She looked like the girl from Elnet. Like that was her hairdo in the 70s.
Right. Gia is asking, which part of your job do you love the most?
I love how dynamic it is and how every day you meet new people and new crew. And that to me, and even if you don't meet new ones, you end up working with new models or new ideas. So every day it's a new adventure. You can never completely plan it.
Yes.
And you just have to be ready to jump in and wing it.
We talk a lot about that on the podcast, that in the type of work that you do, no 2 days are the same. Every day presents a new group of people, a new group of ideas. And
absolutely.
Yeah. Vicky says she loves your client, Claire Danes. What do you think her best makeup look is? What's Claire's best look, Matin?
I loved her the first time she won the Emmys as an adult, which was for Temple Grandin. And it was, she was wearing a gold dress and she was very tan. She'd just come back from Hawaii. And my inspiration for her was Cheryl. What was the girl from
Cheryl Teagues? Cheryl Teagues.
No, Cheryl from the police, from the detective show.
Cheryl Ladd.
Charlie's
Cheryl
Angels.
Ladd.
Cheryl Ladd.
From Charlie's
that was
Angels.
My inspiration from Charlie's
That's
Angels.
A good one.
So I kind of did her makeup with those hues and that kind of idea in my head. And to this day, I love that look on her.
Beautiful. I'm going to look that up now and remember what that was. I do remember that tan and the gold dress, but I want to check out her makeup. Sarah says that she loved your post about doing makeup for a video chat. Can you tell me more about Ricky Loves Ricky?
So Ricky Loves Ricky is this mirror. They have a couple of sizes. One size is the size of a bigger iPad, like a Pro iPad, and the other one is the size of like a bathroom mirror. It has 5 settings on the lights that you can go from dim to light, and it also has attachments that you can put your iPhone on it. So
That's amazing.
It's a one silk. It's amazing, and it like the big one has even like a remote control. Oh my God! It's for what we do now.
Yeah.
You've seen me. I actually had it in your studio when I came in, because in New York you never know what kind of light you have. So you go to somebody's hotel room or house,
That's
and you
right.
need extra light, and it's been a lifesaver for me. It's one of the best products I've ever
So
used.
it's the
I
ultimate
used to have
makeup
another
mirror.
light. It's a makeup mirror, and I used to have another light set that I used to carry, and it was a lot, and it kept breaking because it was so clunky and big, and I had to carry tripods with it and this and that. This literally all fits in a tiny little, like an iPad sized bag, and I just
That's
take that with me.
amazing. We
And
will
it's super
we
light.
will we will maybe we will add that to the show notes of the podcast, and maybe we'll even see if we can add that to your beauty shop, because that's
That was
handy.
amazing because they really, it comes handy today because of
Very
what
handy.
people are doing. Yeah.
Hi, Retrouve. We said saying hi to official Retrouve. Cleo.
Hi.
Hi. Cleo, can you share the steps and products for natural looking skin with both coverage and SPF? You want to do
I can
both
show
coverage
with.
and SPF in this, like, what are the steps and products for a natural look, but that has some coverage, I guess, and also SPF?
Well, coverage comes from makeup.
Yes.
SPF is something else.
Yeah.
I am not a SPF user. I stopped using it about, I would say, 12, 13 years ago.
Well,
Once I started like cleaning my blood, because everything that I could find was extremely toxic, or if they weren't toxic, it was very white, and my skin is brown, so
yeah,
it looked very
doesn't work.
odd.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. And I also realized that, no, don't take this, take it with a grain of salt. This is my own experience. I don't know if it works for everyone. Once I stopped using SPF, I had really big sun damage from a glycolic peel on my forehead. On my nose, it still exists, and you can see a little bit of it, but I had a giant one on my forehead.
You did.
And a couple of days from it. I had a convertible in San Francisco. I did a facial with SPF, with glycolic 20 back in the day in the 90s. And then I got into my convertible and I went for a joyride across Golden Gate. Exactly. So I came back with.
That doesn't sound good.
Spots. No, I came back with purple spots on my face. And honestly, I used SPF religiously for decades and it wouldn't go away. And I finally stopped using SPF and I started using natural oils and massaging my face, and it all went away.
Wow.
And I'm outdoors all the time. It's not
Right.
like I don't garden. It's not like I don't go outside. I mean, I bike all the time. We shoot outside. So I wear a hat because I don't want any more sun damage.
Interesting.
I always wear a hat, but other than that, I don't really use sunblock. But as far as coverage goes, now coverage needs to come in really lightly. I would do, as we talked about the palettes that we like. So this is one of the foundations.
I have mine too.
So I love that foundation because you don't have to cover from hairline to chest with one even plasticky looking skin. Okay. So you can just take a little bit on a small brush, buff it in the back of your hand to warm it up, then very lightly cover it. And then in the areas that you need more, then you add your coverage. So I'll show you, for example, like if I wanted to cover the spot on my nose, then I'll go back and just add coverage where you need, instead of putting coverage, or under the eyes, instead of putting a very even coverage from here to here. That makes the skin look very dull, and it's very aging to me. Even
That's
young
interesting.
girls. Yeah, unless you're lit with a ring light all day long, I wouldn't recommend a heavy coverage all over.
So your approach to, what's the word I'm looking for? Your approach to evening out skin tone and just improving the quality of the skin is to sort of spot correct it. It's not to put a whole face of makeup on. That's interesting. Exactly. That's interesting because we have Danielle who asked, what's the best lightweight foundation with SPF for summer? That's not your thing, right?
It's not my thing, but I mean, if I had your complexion, I would burn in 10 minutes. So you would need it. And for
But
that, I would
do
use.
you have clients, Mateen, that ask you for SPF?
No, no, they usually know. I mean, if we are shooting outside, of course I put on SPF on them. But if I'm not shooting outside and if we're indoors, we never really
What
use
do
it.
you
And
use
some
for SPF? Do you remember? Do you recall?
I, gosh, I don't remember. It's a zinc one and it's a liquid.
Oh, like a
And
real zinc liquid.
yeah, it's a clean one. And I got it a while back and I have it in Manhattan. I don't have it here, but it was a little spray that you can spray on your hands and then pat it on.
Oh,
And it
that's
was
good.
very clean. If I find the name, I will text you and then you can add that on. But I mean, if you're buying SPF, the best bet would be to go on a place like Credo and look at what they offer.
Love Credo.
They usually really vet all the toxicities, so you don't have to do your own research.
While we're sort of on the subject, I'm going to jump around because we did have a question from Michelle about which concealer do you think works best?
I have many different concealers that I like. I use the Pure Vice for foundation and concealer. It's meant to be used for both. I use for clean concealers, the new Kosas is really nice as well. It blends beautifully. Yeah, it's a really pretty concealer. I don't have that here, unfortunately. What else is good in the concealer department? Surat, it's I don't know what their formulation is as far as clean product goes, but I'm sure it's pretty safe. It's this one that comes with two colors.
That looks great. There's 3 that you can play with there.
Exactly. So this is a powder, and these 2 are color. So you can mix and match your skin whatever you want. Laura Mercier's Secret Camouflage has been in my bag since it came out.
Since you worked with her, yeah, a long time ago.
I used to assist her. So I used that concealer for 2 decades at least and more. And you cannot go wrong with that because it's really nice and it's dry. So you can mix it with a little eye cream to use it around the eyes. And you can use it dry on blemishes and places like that.
And I think that's just such a great tip. Like I think many people think about putting on like an all over sort of tinted moisturizer. What about tinted moisturizer? Do you feel the same way? You think that that's too much coverage, right?
No, I like them. Tinted moisturizers tend to be lighter.
Okay.
So if you're buying something light, then you would go and buy a tinted moisturizer. But if you're not buying it and you have a foundation that you want to make it sheerer, you can just mix it with a little bit of your primer or moisturizer.
Perfect.
Your phone.
Jenna is asking, what eyeshadow look are you loving right now?
Well, now everybody is wearing a mask, so you can play up the eyes. And I came from a culture that some women did cover their faces halfway or all the way sometimes. So the ones that were, the backlash of that kind of culture was that when you do get a chance, you wear everything that you own. You literally like
pile it on
and you're unrecognizable when you go to a party. I didn't recognize one of my close friends that I used to work with. I saw her at a party. Like, exactly.
You're like, is that you?
So yeah, it was like she came and said hi, and I'm like, oh my god! Like, if it wasn't for her voice, I wouldn't have recognized her. So what they do in these cultures, whenever there's a private party or whenever they have time or on an occasion, they would pile it on, and I suspect that would happen with COVID-19 and also going forward for a few months because people would wear masks or they've been deprived of makeup for so long that they would pile it on when they go out. So there's going to be a lot more play in eyes, and I love to see. I mean, I'm Central Asian, so it's our thing to do a color-rimmed eye and a smoky eye. That's always been my favorite. I think lashes and brows are coming in big play. So that's been a trend for a while. You know, with all the without naming names, all of the Middle Eastern-looking women in America following the trend that's coming from Dubai and all of those places with the bloggers.
Yes.
So that trend has been coming, but I think it's becoming an everyday thing. You'll see more
a mainstream trend. We do have a question from somebody about what are your tips for filling in eyebrows? Asked Erin.
I would go for a very thin pencil, super, super thin pencil, or sharpen your pencil, and then very lightly, or a powder you can use, and very lightly use a tiny brush, or the back of the pencils usually come with a spoolie like this. So you just fill in like hairs. And I always fill in from 3/4 out first, never
Oh,
from here.
okay.
Because this area, no matter how, if you look at a teenager's eyebrows, you will see that this area is not as dense as it would be out here.
Interesting.
So I always start here, and then very lightly, wherever there's a gap, I would fill in, unless I'm changing the brow shape.
And you
And
like
then-
pencil instead of powder?
Well, pencils are more convenient, but powders can work beautifully. I use either or. I've used both. But just make sure that you have a very thin pencil. I mean, pencil or a brush, not a thick one. And then you go with the back of the brush and then just blend it out so it looks like hair and it doesn't look like painted brows. And
Right.
never bring it too close to here, like the density of it. So it should start from here out. It could be dense. And then as you come closer to the nose, you use less and less.
It's more sparse.
Yeah, so that way it doesn't look stenciled in.
That's interesting.
And
We
it
have a few
also it can make a face look mean when it's like too dense here.
right, like devil eyes or something.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's funny. Renee asks Matin, I hate having too many makeup brushes. What are the core brushes to own, and which brands do you recommend? What are the core brushes to own? I'm curious myself.
Let me.
I mean, you
So
have
Anissa-
every brush imaginable, but if you were to dial that down and say
Yeah,
some
exactly.
to 3 brushes, what would it be?
So I would have a concealer brush is very important.
Uh-huh.
So Anissa Beauty makes a concealer brush that literally looks like a finger. It's the same size and it's cut like that. And it literally fits perfectly here. So very quickly you can do a concealer with that. So that's one brush that everyone should have. I do like, let me just grab this quickly.
Okay.
I do like flat brushes. So I do like a foundation brush that is flat like this.
Perfect. That's a great looking, I mean, that's small and it's...
And this is Clear Vice.
Oh, it is. Okay, and that's what you apply foundation with.
There's a lot of them like this. There's a lot of those cruelty-free nylon brushes that are flat. But I do love the size of this one because it travels well and it's easy. That's another brush that I'm really fond of. I love a good, any of the shape that like this, either flat or round, just for an all-over eye is important to have.
Interesting.
And
So you prefer flat brushes, really, right?
I do prefer flat brushes personally for, I'm getting used to using newer ideas of brushes, but I haven't really mastered them. However, for blush, I do like this one. This one is also Anissa, and it's like a triangle.
That's incredible.
And you literally just,
I've never seen that shape before. It's fantastic.
I haven't. She makes brushes for everyone, for a lot of people. So a lot of brushes that you see in cosmetic brands is made by her company. And
I see. I didn't realize that.
Oh yeah, she's been researching about brushes for years and years. And I know her from working with other brands and ordering brushes from them. And finally, she's been pushing these gorgeous shapes that no one had, like her concealer brush. And everybody's like, oh no, it's too big, or it's too small, or it's this and that. So finally she's like, you know what? If you guys are not doing it, I'll do it myself. So she finally did it herself. And this is one of them.
I'm going to get one myself. I'm going to buy that.
And honestly, I've never
seen that.
This. But it just fits so beautifully.
It does. It's
and
perfect.
It's very easy. So these are the brushes that I really enjoy using.
Perfect. Perfect. How do you clean brushes? We had a question about cleaning.
I use a soap that is made for face and brushes. This is Anissa also. I have a brush cleaner that I use by Cinema Secrets. It's not the healthiest thing to use to have it under your nose because it has aromatics, but it cleans everything immediately, and then you can reuse the brush.
Yeah, I mean, when you're a makeup artist working on people, and I mean, I'm sure there are times when you need to, just like, you know, people will deep clean their hair from time to time. You need to deep clean those brushes, right?
Oh, absolutely. Like if I'm doing a show and I need a brush and I'm running out of brushes, you need something quick. Anissa has one too, but it's a spray that sprays and it cleans very fast. I use that if I'm not switching clients. But if I'm switching clients to disinfect, I use the Cinema Secrets to make sure that everything is like super, super gone. Otherwise, soap and water at night, every night when I come home from the set, if I'm working with one person, the best way to clean them is soap.
Yes, you touch on that on our podcast. I had asked you a question about, you know, since you're such an advocate for cleaner products, I said, what are you thinking about our times right now where everybody is disinfecting everything with really harsh chemicals? And what you said to me was, soap and water does the trick. Like, just clean with soap and water, and soap and water will always.
Everything else is just being, they feed off of our fear and insecurities, and there are all these like, you know, $500, $600 boxes that are supposed to disinfect with UV, but they're LED lights. I'm not sure that UV can really work. I mean, I worked in a lab and our UV room was, you know, it's a room of UV lights,
right,
not like 3 lights on a box.
Right.
So I do have an ozone box. It's an old one that I got from my sister when she was working in a dental office. It's an ozone / UV box that is made for dental products. So I do use that one sometimes, and I will be using that going forward. But it's not a portable product, so you can't take it with you. But soap and water is really the best way, and sunlight, of course. If you have a window that sun comes in, sunlight will kill the bacteria and germs as well.
We have a question. I like this question. I mean, this is a process for you, but Dana is asking, how do you prep skin for celebrities and for photo shoots? I actually saw you have a post featuring Mandy Moore, who is one of our fall cover stars, and you were, I think, working on her in the early morning for a press junket. What do you do to wake up the face? Like, how are you prep? Can you take us through some of the steps for prepping skin in that way?
Absolutely. Yeah, I love to. I always mask them, especially nowadays because masks are so easy, and there's a lot of great sheet masks. So I usually do a sheet mask on them, or at least eye pads. So I apply the eye patches or a face mask while they're getting their hair done. And the hair usually takes about 40 minutes, 45 minutes until it's dry and styled. So I wait
really
until the blow dryer is done. Exactly.
Really,
you know, when they're getting their hair blow dried, you can't really do anything with their faces.
No.
You can't paint them.
They're moving constantly.
So I usually, exactly, they're moving. So I leave that on to make sure that it soaks in. I use gadgets while doing that, something like this. This is a Dermaflash gadget called Dermapore. It infuses nutrients into the skin. So I can do the serum or an oil and target it with this on the vulnerable areas to push it in. I give them a massage with something like this or like this, or a roller, whichever one I have in my bag. But I think
we have some of these products in your clean beauty shop on storyrain.com. So if anybody is interested in any of these,
oh, wonderful,
we've got them.
Yeah, because these are really, I mean, this is a cooling product, and this one
Amazing.
is also very cool. But it also, you know, I can do their face with it, and then I can massage their necks during, you know, when they have a break, because they get stressed that they're always on the entire day when they're doing it.
So you managed to add a little pampering for them.
Oh, you have to. It's unbelievable the energy it takes for a celebrity to be on an entire day. It's nothing like we have experienced before. So, you know, you need to really make sure that they're taken care of when you're with them. So these are the products that I use. Nesco mask we talked about when you were on with Holly live. Nesco makes these gorgeous sheet masks, and I literally I empty out the pouch in a little bowl that I carry with me, and then while the mask is on their face, I put the rest of it on their chest, on their arms, the back of their hands, wherever the skin is exposed. until I
I
ran out
just
of
did one. I just did a Nesco mask last night, and per
it.
your recommendation, I emptied out all the extra serum into a bowl, and I continued to use it all for the
Girl,
following day. Yeah.
yay! It's amazing.
So masks, and you're massaging, and then what goes
So
first
massage.
onto the face?
First thing is mask. I do a little spray toner on them, and then as soon as the toner is done, because they're usually just out of the shower when we see them, they don't wear makeup when they come to the set or if we go to their hotel. I do a little toner spray, quickly wipe that off, and then stick on a mask, do their body a little bit. If the mask is sitting on their face, I do their legs if they need to be bronzed, or if they have veins or anything I need to cover. So I do the body makeup while they're sitting on the chair getting their hair done. And then I follow through with a good face oil. I always do like a good eye cream. These are my eye creams for the daytime when I'm under makeup. And as we talked about, and then the Retrouvé eye cream, of course, is when they're super dry, or if I'm cleaning their face and they're going home, I always send them home with this. The other products that I use is a good face oil. I have a library of them, so it's whether it's this or the Retrouvé moisturizer or the Moon Beauty oil. There's so many beautiful oils out there. I usually do an oil and a serum. I mix them together.
Oh, you
one of the
mix them?
serums that I love, and I do mix them because it's faster and it absorbs. Oil usually helps the serum to go deeper into the skin. There's a serum that I don't have with me, but it's by a German product called by Nacht. It's called Glass Skin.
We've talked about that. Yeah.
Obsessed with that glass skin. It literally just transforms the skin look.
Yes,
and it
you
gives it
couldn't
that
say
sheen.
enough about glass skin. You could not say
It's
enough
literally,
about
it's
this
like,
product.
well, in the editorial world, we called it expensive skin.
Yeah.
It's the skin that looks like it's rested and it's been on vacation for months, and it's glowy and bronzy and gorgeous. So
Absolutely.
That's what this glass skin.
Absolutely. Guys, glass skin, amazing. Anything else that you do to prep, or that's about it?
So that's how I prep the skin, and then I go on into a primer. Sometimes I've been foregoing primer lately because I just didn't have any reasons for them anymore. Foundations have changed so much that, unless you're globbing it on with an oil-free foundation or a very heavy long wear foundation, I wouldn't even need to use a primer, because a proper primer is supposed to create a barrier between your skincare and makeup, so the makeup doesn't seep into the skin, and also the makeup would wear the same all day long. But since I'm not using products that are harmful for the face, like a long wear foundation or anything like that, I don't need to worry about it seeping in. There are very few primers that are real primers. Sadly, so many companies make primers just to sell another product. And they
Very interesting, because I love the idea that a primer is this barrier between your skincare and your makeup. But you're saying there are very few that are actually effective and do that job.
Very few.
Is there a recommendation for one that works?
Well, the one that I knew before I came into the studio makeup was a product from Shiseido. They don't make it anymore, unfortunately. It was called Pre-Makeup Cream. And it was, this was in the 80s, and it was a product that really kept your makeup away from your face. Your makeup looked amazing, it wore amazingly all day, but you could wipe it off very easily at night and nothing would seep in, and you wouldn't get clogged pores from it or anything. So that product's not made anymore. And then Laura Mercier made their very first primer that was in the market at that time, before primers became a thing. Laura Mercier made one that was silicone free. It's still there.
I'm writing this down. Yeah.
It's silicone free, and it's a very light gel that you put a tiny layer on top of the skincare, and that actually did what it was supposed to do. It kept skin clean, but it also kept your makeup the same. So what I mean by that is women that wear a lot of makeup on the forehead and the T-zone where the skin is oily, you realize that the makeup separates a little bit throughout the day. And on the drier areas, which are the cheek areas, the makeup gets absorbed and disappears, like blush goes away. So the role of the primer is that to make sure that the skin wears the same, or the makeup wears the same throughout the day on the entire face.
Right, right.
Does it make sense?
It makes total sense.
So that's,
it makes total sense. Yeah.
So that's what. And so one of my go-to primers now for clean products is a product by Grown Alchemist. They have a new, it's fairly new. I think they came out right before the Oscars. A new primer that is clean, but it's a beautiful gel, and it actually does that exactly.
Perfect. We will link to that as well. That's a great, great resource. Sylvia wants to know, Matin, if you think that lash extensions are damaging.
They are very damaging. My clients that do get them, first of all, you can't see yourself without them if you have them for weeks on. So it creates this sense of like needing them all the time. They're okay if you're going on a trip and you don't want to carry mascara and you don't want any extra makeup. So it does have a purpose. For example, my clients that are going to, a big trip for UNHCR and they don't want to wear makeup, they don't want to have mascara on while they're in a refugee camp or,
right.
or they're places like that is not appropriate to doll up. But because they're being filmed and they're being
they want to look
it's good to have a little
good. Yeah.
Exactly. So they put on just a touch of, natural looking lashes. But it does damage your own lash and it does make them fall off. So you have to go to some, but
yeah, I know that there was one period of time where I did them back to back. I did it once and then I did it again right away. And I noticed after that second time of doing it, I said, this is definitely damaging. Like there's no way around it. Yeah.
But also the problem is that you get so used to looking at yourself with more lashes that you can't even go back. It's very hard.
Yeah, it creates the need.
Yeah.
Do you have a go-to bronzer, and how do you recommend applying it? By Renee. Do you use bronzers a lot?
I
guess
don't.
you do. You have to.
I don't.
You don't?
I don't use bronzer. I don't have to, and I don't like bronzers on light skin either. But I do like the bronzers from Kjaer Weis because they're cream and they have a little bit of glow to them so they don't look streaky and heavy. And you just use your fingers or a brush. And I like them just a little bit bronze here on the tip of, not the tip, on the bridge of the nose, a little bit on the cheeks and out here. But the one mistake that I see a lot with makeup and bronzer is that people are using it as contour, and it is not the right color to contour with.
That was actually going to bring me to my next, it's my comment, my question for you is, you hate the contouring trend, right?
Oh, I don't. I hate the trend, but I do like the, contouring has been around for the studio work, as you know.
Right.
For as long as it's been on,
so
since the Hollywood
like
days.
It, but you just feel that there's a way to do it, correct?
Absolutely. There's a right and wrong way to do it. And there's also occasions for it. So if you're being photographed, of course, it helps to bring definition to the face and get rid of the jawline a little bit. But it looks silly if you're in a subway and the whole underneath of your jaw is brown. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. While we're on this subject, let's talk a little bit about some other trends that we see on places like Instagram, and we touched on this on our podcast, and people can hear more about that there. But the gel eyeliner in the waterline.
Well, that was.
Was that Instagram that you saw that on? Or
I saw it on Instagram, and I saw a brand doing it, and that's when I got really upset because we all need content. What do you call it? Contents, and we all need to new things. So things that have never been done and shocking, and
everyone's looking for the new thing to,
or just something. And that's one of the reasons that I haven't been able to come to terms with making a YouTube channel, is because you have to produce content, and there's so much you can do with makeup that is right, and then the rest you just have to come up with all kinds of bullshit. Sorry, the language.
No,
Just,
of course,
just
right.
to
Just
keep
for the sake of
your viewers happy. I saw a brand doing a gel liner, which was shocking to me because it's very irresponsible. And then I saw some beauty blogs with professional makeup artists going in with a gel liner and putting it inside the eye where you cannot use any products that is long wear, not even long wear pencils inside the eye. It's not recommended. There's like little holes that carries all the junk from the eyes, and it also drains the tears that when you blink. This way you're literally blocking those, and eventually if they get clogged, you have to get surgery to do it. And it's very damaging, and you will lose the shape of your eyes because that's an invasive surgery. So you'll get scarring in the
that's an important
water.
message to get out, Matin. I'm glad you have been pointing that out.
Well, I came from a culture that people wear eyeliners inside their eyes, but they make their own liners at home, and it's completely toxin free, and it's very.
I love that look too. I like it. I like
it's gorgeous. It's beautiful,
gorgeous.
absolutely. But there are kohl pencils that are made for that, so just use that. It doesn't last 16 hours, but it's not meant to last.
Why would you want
hours.
it to? Why would you want it to?
And
right?
that's another thing that I'm baffled by. These women wearing things that are supposed to be on their face for 24 hours. Why?
Yes, that's right.
I mean, there's like lunch break, you can touch up your makeup. It doesn't take time.
Exactly. Camilla is asking you, how can she make her lips look fuller? What do you do for that, Matin?
I
draw over the...
very little, super little. I mean, it's like, I don't have lips, so I envy people with lips. But literally just where the light line is, you can draw a little bit over that.
Slightly.
Very slightly. Like I'm talking about like 2 millimeters over your natural lip line. Sometimes you can go over the Cupid bow, and that kind of gives an illusion of a puffier lip. You can pencil in with a darker shade on the outer corners and pencil it in, and then blend it into a light here. And then at the end, you can go with a lighter lipstick, like almost like not a white, but like a chalky beige. And just
right. And it creates depth, I guess, right?
It creates a three-dimensional thing. I'm not fond of contouring around the lips. I've seen that being done a lot, but they actually put like a contour around here. It looks messy, and it's, unless you're lit to death, I don't recommend that for everything.
It doesn't work. Actually, I'll skip over to this question from Jill because we're somewhat on the subject. She wants to know what your thoughts are on Botox and fillers.
Fillers I don't like at all. Botox, if you make money off of your looks, for example, if you're a model and you're in your 20s and you might have a little bit of line here or might have a little line here, sure, as long as it doesn't take away your expression. But it's very important to go to someone who's an artist, like a plastic surgeon that is an artist, not just any derm that puts Botox everywhere.
Yes.
Most
there's a
important
big
thing,
difference. I think that people don't realize, a lot of people don't realize that there's a huge difference between the dermatologists that are artists and they're artful about their approach to the face, and others that just have the product, they have access to the product and they can administer the treatment, right? That's
the dangerous part, that going through anyone in Botox parties or, nurses are doing
right.
It's very dangerous that way because, number one, it's a medical procedure and it needs to be done safely at a clean environment. And secondly, the doctor has to have an aesthetic in knowing which muscles to inject. So you don't end up with like brows up to here and with like eyes that have no expression.
Yes.
So that's the dangerous part of Botox. Fillers, to me, I really have problem with it because I work with a lot of actresses and they need their expressions. But the one thing that fillers do is they it creates this flatness on their face. And
I love this. I love this insight from you, Mateen. You're
I just,
looking at these
aesthetically to
faces
me, it
very,
looks so,
yeah, you're looking at them up close
yeah.
and
And also
yeah.
in film, it looks puffy. To me, they look puffy.
And doesn't it also move and slide and not?
Well, that's another thing. When you're losing weight or you're, if you get them when you're heavier or thinner, and then you gain weight or lose weight, their placement shifts, and you end up with cheekbones down here. And I've seen that happen with a lot of people.
You've
I
seen
have.
that.
It's dangerous, yeah. And it's something that doesn't go away. It's a toxic product inside your body, and
That's right.
why you
So
want to let it
yeah,
have that.
from the toxicity standpoint, which you know a lot about, Botox has been cleared of that for many years at this point, correct? Like it's a
Botox,
toxin that works.
it's a bot- it's a toxin. It's a neurotoxin. That's what
Yeah,
Botox is.
but it's
So
safe.
it's safe. Um, it's safe in a way, but I don't believe that it leaves your body. I do believe that it stays in your body, and if you overdo it and you do it all the time, eventually there will be some kind of problems with it.
There will be a buildup. Okay, Lily is asking what your favorite skin cleanser is. Do you have one that you use yourself that is kind of
I hop around a lot because I do have access to so many, and I love that about my job.
I know you do. It's just like
So
like I
use,
said, Mateen is a wealth of information when it comes to products. It's wonderful.
Thank you. I use for gels, I've been obsessed with these two. This is Anissa's, that's the brush and face cleaner. And then this one is by Naturiyum. It's a newer line.
We were looking this up. We were,
and
yes.
this is the one that we talked about
We did.
earlier.
Yeah.
So they don't have like the main, it's cleaner line, it's a cleaner line, and their price point is very well positioned. They're $16 to $25, and that's one thing that it's very affordable for most people, which I love. So those are the ones that I use for gels when I'm in the mood for gel. I do love Retrouvé makes an amazing balm, and it's when I'm dry and in the winter it works really well. But it comes in a little pump, and you pump it, and it's like an oil. It turns into an oil, and it's a gorgeous balm.
Gorgeous, gorgeous. We actually have another question from Gina about along those lines about combating flakiness on the skin. So would you recommend a cleanser like that? What would you recommend putting on the skin or doing to the skin to combat flakiness?
That you'd want to avoid anything with suds in bubbles.
Anything with suds, right?
Yeah, so you want to use a cleansing milk, like a Saudi's cleansing milk is really gorgeous. And then for the balm, I love the Retrouvé, I love the Emma Hardy, and there's another one from Bloom Effects. It's this brand that I've been using their cleanser too, and it's like a jelly. It has a jelly texture, and when you put it on, it melts everything, all the dirt, impurities, makeup, and then you just like wipe it off or rinse it.
That's interesting. I've never seen a product like that before.
It's beautiful, and it comes in a tiny little jar, and I just absolutely love that brand. And it's clean, and you can buy it at Creative.
Fabulous. All right, Mateen, before we get started, I want to talk about some of these specific products. Well, we have over 30 products in the Mateen Clean Beauty Shop, but we also highlighted 6 products from 6 brands that you love, especially love for a clean range of products. But first, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
What lipstick should I try? I'm sick of my fuchsia. I'm sick of my red. I'm sick of these colors. What should I do? What should I just wear all summer?
Clear Vibe with I think it's 12 colors of new nudes.
Oh.
And it's a semi-matte.
Perfect.
And it has shea butter, and the butters on it is just like, it goes on like a dream. And it doesn't dry out, but it's not shiny and it's not matte. But the colors are like literally, if you looked at every skin tone, it matches one of the skin tones. So it's
I love that. That's so chic. Right?
It's so beautiful. It's so clean and chic. So those, I love those for the nudes. And then for bright colors, there's a product line called Spella. they make a really gorgeous fuchsia and a gorgeous red that are matte. And they are literally rival to, you know, my staple MAC lipsticks.
Yes.
So those are nice. And
Great.
another brand is, I can't remember the name right now. I've posted it before. Comes in a black tube. I will text you the name.
Okay,
and
good.
It's a clean,
Okay. I have a new lipstick look from Matin. I'm very excited about this.
And they have colors, so if you want color.
Oh, good. I'm so excited. Let's talk about, you mentioned about, we have over 30 products, but there were 6 that we highlighted earlier in the week. One of them was a chapstick product, and I would love for you to tell the story, which you told to me on the podcast, about how you use chapstick for red, you know, to do touch-ups for red carpet looks. Like, tell us a little bit more about how you use the chapstick with the color.
Or the studio, like if I'm in the studio, and so I always prep them with, you know, so this range is called Chapstick Total Hydration. There's a lip oil, which is really amazing for lip and also for cuticles. There are colorless range, which either has aromatherapy in them or just pure beautiful butters and clean oils in them. And then later on, they came up with Chapstick Total Hydration plus tint in lip oils and also in sticks. So what I do with these is, if I'm doing any color lipstick, for example, a red lip or a beige lip or any lip, the problem with lipstick is that if you use it over and over throughout the day, it becomes cruddy.
This is very true. Listen to this. Yeah.
Yeah, so it just becomes really gross, and it just doesn't feel good. It crumbles on the outer corner.
It doesn't have the same texture any longer. It just is.
Exactly. And also, you cannot keep putting on, like, especially a matte lipstick over and over, because it just looks messy. And the second thing was that my clients always, they leave me and they get in a car and they do a final touch-up in the car on themselves before they hit the red carpet. And if you remember the days that the high definition powders came in, all the girls, they look like they had cocaine on their faces.
Oh boy, remember that? All the legs.
That's basically what happens when you're not with your makeup artist and you're doing touch-up on your own.
Is that what that was? There was a very famous moment that was publicized everywhere. I forgot who it was, poor thing, that like was called out for all.
It was a bunch of really high profile.
Yeah, it was a thing for a while. Yeah,
and we were. I remember laughing with one of my clients that was a part of those pictures, and she's like, "I don't care," but it was just.
Yeah, I was like, "Thank God that wasn't me." Yeah.
Yeah, it was just like, well, I just powdered my nose, so I was supposed to, but it wasn't me. It wasn't me doing the makeup. So the problem with, you know, touching up without supervision in a dark car is, you know, things like that can happen. Or if there's a bump, and if you're using like a fuchsia or a red, oh my God, just imagine if it goes out and you don't have any makeup cleaner or Q-tips to clean it. So that's when these things came in really handy. So like this one is one of my favorites, called Flaunting Fuchsia. There's another one called Merlot. So as you can see, they're really sheer.
But still with color, but still with nice color.
That's color, yeah. I mean, look at even.
I love it. We've got a little.
It just gives a look.
A little flush.
Without looking like you have a lot on.
No, I get it. So you've already got your lipstick on, right, Matin? And then you're just adding a little more moisture and just to even it out, right? Oh, look, you're putting it on your cheeks as well.
Yeah. So basically, I don't know if they recommend it or not, but if they're out in a party, I tell them to put a touch on their cheeks in the middle of the night, just so they look fresh again. And yes, so this adds moisture. It evens out the little, you know, little lines that go in the cracks that the lipstick gets in. So this is one of the reasons that I always love these, because it made my job so much easier. I don't have to worry when I send my.
So cool. You know that this. It's
so I just basically match them with whatever color they're wearing.
It's such a good trick from you. So you basically what we do, and for anybody, for every day, right? You take. It's Chapstick Total Hydration. Somebody is asking, it's Chapstick Total Hydration, but in the tinted colors. And you basically, you have your chapstick, you have your color, your more your heavier, more opaque color, and you use the chapstick to hydrate and touch up, so you don't get that buildup, right? You don't get this uneven texture.
And
it's a
if you
fantastic
you
tip.
want to do your yeah, and then if you want to, after lunch, if you want to put on your lipstick again, then throughout the day until you go out to dinner, you use the chapstick to touch up again.
It's such a great tip. Let's talk about this brand Rituel de Fille, which I'm now obsessed with. We talked about this brand on the podcast. I'm a product junkie myself. It's always. And you really piqued my interest because you were talking about how much you love their packaging, and you were really, we're talking about lips, now we're going to talk about eyes. You were saying that they're eye soots. They're called eye soots, S-O-O-T. They come in a range of
Yes, these are the eyeshadows.
And you said that they really provide incredible texture and coverage, right? They just work so well for you.
They do. They have amazing texture, and they just came out with, like a couple of months ago, I saw this one is called Black Orb, and it has black, kind of matte black in it. I mean, look at this. It's like, the payoff is unbelievable.
Yeah, and for a clean product as well.
And it's clean, which is something that is rare. There are other ones, the shadow ones. I don't have the light shades with me, but you posted it on the shopping site. The lighter one goes on a little sheerer, but the lighter colors are so shimmery and in a beautiful way. It's like a shimmer like I've never seen before. Almost ethereal when you put it on.
It's gorgeous.
So
if you go to our Instagram and you see our latest post that talks about Matin's Clean Beauty Shop, and you see the swatches of color, those are from Rituel de Fille, and they're this range of kind of otherworldly, iridescent colors, and they're gorgeous. They're also in Matin's Beauty Shop.
And then this little thing, like these little pots. Look at this.
Absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely
it's unbelievable. The shine that they give is like out of this world. So I really do like their brand.
Well, everybody, if you want to hear more about these six brands, 6 products, and many, many more, you'll find Matin discussing all of them at length in the podcast. You can also shop them on the website. And Matin, it was great talking to you today.
You too. You finally took my virginity to live.
Oh, I know. I love that you did your first Instagram live with us. Thank you so much.
I've been so scared of it, so thank you.
Thank you, Matin.